I remember in my sophomore year of college, one night around 11 o'clock at night, I was on my couch scrolling through this article full of conversation starters. One line said, "Practice this with a friend." I actually laughed out loud, but not in a good way, in a goose way, like, ha! It was the kind of laugh where you just set your phone down and stare at the ceiling for a minute. I was sitting there thinking, that's the whole problem. If I had a friend I could practice awkward scripts with, I probably wouldn't need this article. You need to practice to get better, but you need to be better to get practice, at least when it comes to friendships. And that's not a chicken or egg situation anyone likes to find themselves in. Hello, my name is Kara. I'm a first-time podcaster and a longtime friend, and this is Fluent in Friendship. If you're thinking, this is pathetic, normal people don't need to practice talking, let me encourage you. What's actually true is that everyone practices social skills. They just call it other things, preparing for a meeting, rehearsing in the shower, or thinking about what to say on the drive over. You're just being honest about what you're doing. The skill this episode teaches is simple. Using an AI chatbot as a rehearsal space to practice social skills before you try them with real people. AI can't replace human connection, but it can give you a place to stumble without consequence. It can also help you practice the response to their response to those opening lines. Before we get into this, I know it might sound a little ironic that a podcast about friendship is talking about AI, but this is something I personally use, and it's helped me a lot, especially when I'm working through complicated feelings or trying to figure out exactly what to say in a tough conversation. So if it's not your thing, that's totally okay. But for me, having a place to practice and sort out my thoughts has made a real difference, and honestly, I wish I'd had something like this a lot sooner. A word of caution here, especially if connection doesn't come easily to you, AI can easily start to feel safer than people. It's patient, it doesn't judge, and it's always available. AI isn't a replacement for human connection, though. I want to be really clear about that, because the line is super easy to blur. AI is a rehearsal space, somewhere you can stumble, restart, and repeat without consequence. The goal isn't to get comfortable talking to a chatbot. The goal is to use rehearsal to get comfortable enough to try with actual humans. Real relationships take more out of you, but they also give back in ways that AI simply can't. The first time I used an AI chatbot, I felt completely ridiculous. I was sitting alone in my apartment, and I was talking out loud responses to my phone about how to greet someone at a party. My dog was staring at me like I'd finally lost it. But then I went to the actual party, and the opening line came out without me having to think about it. That 5 minutes of feeling silly bought me an entire evening feeling like a functioning person. I think it was worth the trade. Here's what AI is actually good for. It's good for rehearsing scripts until the words feel natural. Not memorized, but words that feel like they're yours. Role-playing conversations before real ones so you have already been through the scenario. Processing after an interaction instead of spiraling alone at midnight. Getting direct feedback. Was that too long? Did that sound weird? Without worrying about the other person's feelings. And here's what AI genuinely can't do, and this part is important. AI can't give you real facial expressions to read. AI can't create actual social pressure, the kind that makes your hands sweat and your brain go blank. It can be a real positive when practicing, but the lack of that in practice means that you just need to consider it when preparing for conversations in real life. AI can't simulate the unpredictability of real humans because real humans interrupt you mid-sentence to tell you about their dog. And AI can't replace human practice entirely. So the one-sentence version of all of this is that AI is for rehearsal and humans are for the real thing. I'll drop the full prompt I encourage you to use to start practicing with AI in the show notes. No need to write anything down. The short version is, tell the AI, I want you to role play as a real person in this conversation. Give me direct feedback. And here is the subject that I'm practicing. And you would type that in. Here is the full AI practice partner prompt. I'm practicing social skills. Please be my practice partner. Role play. When I ask, play someone I might talk to, my coworker, acquaintance, someone at an event. Respond naturally, not perfectly. Include realistic, awkward moments, unexpected topic changes, and the kinds of responses real people give, not ideal responses. Feedback. When I describe something I said or plan to say, be direct. Was it too long? Did I acknowledge them first? Did it sound natural or scripted? I need real feedback, not encouragement. Post-conversation. When I describe a social interaction, help me look at what actually happened, not how I felt. Did they ask follow-up questions, suggest meeting again, lean in or pull back? Help me see evidence I might miss because I'm anxious. Be direct. Don't soften feedback excessively. If something would land awkwardly, tell me. If I'm overthinking, say so. Here's the current skill I'm working on. And then you would type and tell it what skill you're currently practicing. I'm working on starting conversations with a coworker that I have a long history with. Get you something useful. The more specific you are, the more useful the feedback gets. I would encourage you to tell the AI the exact situation you're preparing for. I'm practicing asking questions to ask other attendees for a work mixer I have on Thursday. That's the level of detail that can make a difference. How to practice. Copy the prompt from the show notes into a chatbot. Pick one thing you're working on, a greeting, a tough conversation, an invitation, and practice the interaction. Say you're part of the conversation out loud. Some AI providers even have a voice mode, which gets you even closer to building the muscle of fluent conversation practice. Before you start, notice what your brain predicts will happen. It may say something anxious, or it may be totally fine. After, notice what actually happened. The gap between the prediction and the reality is useful information. You can also come back to the AI after an interaction and run the post-processing. When to graduate. Here's when to know when to move on to different situations. When you're ready for low-stakes humans. By the way, I consider low-stakes humans like people at a coffee counter or strangers in an elevator or people delivering the mail. They're low stakes because you're not really going to see them again, and they don't really know you or your life, and the conversations can be pretty light-hearted. Try and pick up a conversation, just a small thing, maybe a hello, how's your day going, when a greeting feels natural. It feels like something you'd actually say, even if it's memorized. When you can role play with AI without freezing up or needing to restart every other sentence, that's a good indication that you can move to low-stakes humans. You're ready for more intense situations when you've used a skill successfully with a low-stakes human, a cashier, a coworker in passing, someone you probably will never see again. If the skill you're practicing feels pretty automatic in the back and forth conversations you're having with AI, and you don't have to think about every single word while you're saying them. Another cue is when your main barrier is your nervousness, not your lack of practice. I think nervousness can come from caring. And of course, there's a level of nervousness that borders into anxiety that can be crippling. But there's a level of nervousness that comes with new things, and that's okay. You can be ready and still feel scared. I think that is the good practice of courage. Be cautious of these signs that you're using AI to avoid humans. If you have months of practice with no real-world attempts to connect with other people, if you keep finding reasons why you're not quite ready yet, but the reasons keep changing, or if the practice feels productive but your actual social life hasn't changed at all, if it's you, and I've been that person, so no judgment, try one low-stakes human interaction this week. A brief exchange at a coffee shop or a comment to someone in an elevator. It could be something where it genuinely doesn't matter how it goes, and I'd encourage you just to see what happens. You can always come back to AI and post-process, almost like the after review of a football game. And this practice may not work the same way for everyone. For some people, AI may feel too fake, and that's real. Role-playing with the chatbot can feel like rehearsing a play that doesn't have an audience. If the role play feels forced, you can skip it entirely and use AI for coming up with conversation starters, or you can skip it. Getting comfortable with the words are helpful, but it really is up to you. If you feel like AI gives very generic advice, I would encourage you to try and be more specific in your prompts. Maybe give it more context of who the person is to you that you're trying to talk with, or the group of people and who the different people are, what they care about, if you know. And you can say things like, was that greeting too long? The more specific your question, the better the answer. If you're spiraling and want AI to reassure you, AI can help you evaluate evidence from a conversation, but I will tell you that AI can't tell you whether or not someone likes you. And if you're asking the same question 5 different ways, hoping for a more comforting answer, that may be anxiety talking. I'm not trying to call anyone out here. I definitely have asked AI the same thing 5 different ways. So if that's you, we are kindred spirits here. But I would encourage you to use the post-processing prompt to review what actually happened, what the other person did and said, and then find a way to make peace and take the learnings from the conversation, whether it was a good one or one where you learned, and move forward and try and apply those learnings to future conversations. When I was in college, I actually saw a therapist, and I had so much anxiety about talking to people. I really just wanted friends. And one of the things he said that really changed how I looked at things, he said, Kara, it's just practice. And I said, no, but like, you're supposed to make your best friends in your entire life in college. What do you mean? And he said, in practice, you get things wrong sometimes and you mess up, but that doesn't mean you quit. It means you just take the things that worked and keep those things, and the things that didn't help, you try to change those things. And looking at conversations like practice has really given me a lot of courage to try difficult conversations, new conversations, and even talking with people who I may not have started a conversation with before. If social situations overwhelm you before you can even get to the practice stage, I would encourage you to go back and listen to T0E2, Episode 1, My Brain Goes Blank at Social Events. If you're doing fine with practice but can't stop replaying real interactions afterward, T0E2, Episode 4, When Your Brain Won't Stop Replaying, addresses that directly. If practice is going well but you don't know where to actually meet people, that's T0E2, Episode 1, I've tried everything and nothing works. And if anxiety is so constant that no amount of rehearsal makes the real thing feel possible, a therapist who works with social anxiety can help you build the foundation under all of this. You don't need the perfect practice partner. You don't really need someone willing to role play awkward scenarios in their living room with you at 11 p.m. But you do need repetitions, and AI can help give you those repetitions, whether they're messy, slightly weird, or talking to your phone while your cat judges you. What you do with those reps is still up to you, but now you've got a place to start that doesn't require you to already be where you're trying to go.